So today I'm going to give you the whirlwind view because I could, in my retirement, my ultimate retirement, I retired from the government after 24 years, and now I have my pitch me job at the veterinary school, which is indeed a pitch me job to be department head at NC State. And I see this as retiring next and then sitting on the porch and talking to the dog about antimicrobials and food animal production and whatever ad nauseum, because I could spend literally months talking about this topic. So at 15 minutes, I'm going to wrap it all up here in a nice ball for you. The task Jacob gave me was to describe why antimicrobials are used in food animal production. What are the major concerns attributed to the broad use of antimicrobials and used in food animal production for human health, and some of the major research initiatives that we have ongoing at the vet school. And these I'll do more skimming over because you could go to the website and take a look at this. And what role the universities and government play in supporting the meat animal industry and the biotech industry. So antimicrobials are used in food animal production for the same reason that they're used in medicine, and that's in treatment of disease and for animal health. Okay, so that's the primary tool we have in our toolbox. Right? That's what we're thinking of. Now you're going to hear, and I have slides down the pike about other ways that they're used, but primarily this is used as a treatment. Right? This is treatment. This is how we produce all of the food we do in a wholesome manner so that it is the food we're putting on the table globally that is safe for you and your children to eat, right? That you don't even think about 99.9999% of the time. However, it's always one's perspective. And so that we acknowledge and recognize this continual debate between the need for antimicrobial use in production medicine versus the preservation for human use. And why is this? Well, because most of the drugs that we have for use today in veterinary medicine are the same analogs or secondary compounds and analogs that we have for use in human medicine. So it's merely a bond that has been shifted. It's a different generation, a different compound. And the concern is that resistance is going to develop in a bacterium that we have in meat producing animal that is going to then transfer to the human after consumption or in a close association, and that resistant bacterium then is going to then become part of the human body in some way, and then treatment is going to be compromised. Essentially, that's it, distilled in a nutshell. The key, though, in all of this is what drug is administered, how is that drug administered, and in what dose is that drug administered. The other key is in just how does that process actually end up along the continuum. It's a long way from the farm to the table, to an actual food that is reaching your table. And there are many steps along the way. If we look very broadly at what the FDA approves, because this is the other thing that people miss, all veterinary drugs have to be approved for use. So a lot of people are under the misperception or misconception that this is just something that veterinarians go out and pull off the shelf. This is not true. All veterinary drugs are approved for use by the FDA. This approval goes through a very strict process, review process, and it can take months to years to get done. And these are the drugs that are approved for use, the drug classes that are approved for use. Aminoglycosides, cephalosporins, ionophores, lincomycins, macrolides, penicillins, sulfates, tetracyclines. I think that many of you realize that those are used in human medicine with the exception of ionophores. Okay? Now, the report here is somewhat misleading, and if you don't go and read the little footnote, then you miss the fact that, in fact, this is the report. It's reported out here as food-producing animals for cattle and swine and non-food-producing animals for cats and dogs. Right? So we don't know really what percent of this grand total of 40% of tetracyclines breaks out into the percentage used by cats and dogs versus cattle and swine. So when you read the sensationalistic reports in the paper sometimes, and this is the other thing that can really drive some of the opinion that we have out there, it's that it's not always the truth. It's sensationalistic. It's journalism. It's someone taking a report, forgetting to read the footnote. Well, it makes a big difference. And it skews public opinion. It can even skew scientific opinion. And this in there leads us to the debate that we have. That then can lead us to erroneous assumptions about who is right and who is wrong and what is good and what is bad. FDA, as I said, regulates all of the uses. The controversial area is the area for growth promotion. How many people have heard about the growth promotion use? The feed efficiency. How many people have heard that it's bad? That it needs to be removed. And in fact, it is going to be removed. Okay, from use in animal agriculture in the United States by 2016. Okay. We will still have, no, I don't try that one very well. We will still have prevention, control, and therapy. Drugs are administered in animal agriculture through feed, through water, and other, such as intermammary, topical, oral, or injection. There are medically important drugs that are used in human medicine, and then there are not medically important drugs that are not used in human medicine. And all of those are listed in all of the guidance documents that FDA can make available for us. However, these documents can be quite cumbersome to read, and not many people either A, take the time to read them, or B, understand them. Nor will they seek experts who can explain it to them. This is a problem. And unfortunately, even professionals in the field don't always have the time to go, just like in the medical field, to look and see what is new, what is approved, what has changed, what has not changed, and how best to use these applications. But what we do know is that recently the FDA has these two guidelines, 209, which now establishes medically important antimicrobial drugs, and it removed growth promotion indications, as I said, and puts all therapeutic uses under veterinary oversight by 2016. Okay. So now the veterinary community will have to go and have a veterinary patient-client relationship, because 213, the guidance document, came along and it established the therapeutic indications, and it took over-the-counter, veterinarians had the ability to go and buy drugs off of the shelf, okay, as did producers at one time, and use them according to a veterinary directive. And they no longer can do that. They have to go to a veterinary feed directive for medicated feed, or they have to go to a prescription now for use in medicated water. But the growth promotion indication, all 26 drug sponsors, so all of the drug sponsors who have label indications for 283 drugs used in veterinary medicine have agreed to voluntarily remove the growth promotion indications. So that option now will be out for use in the United States. Well, what might that mean? What might that mean in the United States? It means that we still will get to use ionophores, which it works out to be about 80% of the antimicrobials used in food animal production. It's not a medically important drug, and it doesn't affect human health. So this is important for the poultry industry in particular. But this is an example of a counterpart country that withdrew subtherapeutic use of antimicrobials in Europe. Europe withdrew growth promotion or subtherapeutic use of antimicrobials based on what Europe calls the precautionary principle. In Europe, they can just decide in the government to have a decision without scientific data and implement that decision. They decided they were going to withdraw growth promoters in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, and they said, okay, they're done, they're taking them out. And over time, they've taken all indications out. Okay? What happened over time then is what you see here. So tetracycline has been used for growth in growth promotion and levels, particularly in pig production in Denmark. And it is the plus sign indication here, line. And sulfonamides are in the solid box. And this is in O2. This graph is from their surveillance system. And you could see that tetracycline went up, went down, it's back up. And it has continued to rise. This was a 2011. I have a 2012 report. They're attributing the 2012 increase to an increase in tetracycline use in human medicine for acne. Whether that's true or not, we'll see, because they have now taken that out of the hands of human doctors, of medical doctors, and said you have to reduce your use for acne. So you have to find something else to treat kids with, not tetracycline. So we'll wait to see what happens in 2014 and 15 with tetracycline use. But to me, what this says is that there may not necessarily be the intended consequence that you always expect when you do something. And why is that? This is because of this in particular. We just do not know how antimicrobials work all of the time. Okay? And what the ancillary consequence is going to be. In that last graph that we had, that was resistance to Salmonella typhimurium. Salmonella typhimurium is not a food animal drug that they use to treat, okay? And we treat target pathogens. But when you use antimicrobials, it can have resistance to anything. So when you treat a disease, you're treating everything in your body. Doing one thing has a consequence for something else all the time, no matter what you do. And that's something you have to be aware of. So resistance impacts human health by limiting therapeutic options. It can increase treatment days, and it can increase the severity of disease. Ironically, this is the same concerns that worry veterinarians. So veterinarians are not going to be out abusing antimicrobials, which is another misperception that people tend to have. We have the same limited number of antimicrobials that everybody else does. This is a historical graph that should be very sobering to all of us. We have drugs that were first prescribed in 1935. In 2009 was our last drug. In 74 years, we have no more drugs. We've gone through all of them. There are no more in the pipeline. I think my colleagues will talk about that. It's limited. Resistance has been developed to all of them. And this is the sobering fact. These are the same drugs in human and veterinary medicine, different analogs, different generations. In our department, and I just speak to our department, we have, and these slides will be available to everyone, we have faculty who are looking at One Health approaches, studying populations here and with the One Health approach. We have the Food Animal Avoidance Residue Bank, Data Bank, which is a leading data bank that is open to everyone globally. We have the Center for Chemical and Toxicological Research and Pharmacokinetics. We have studies involved in mastitis. We have pharmacokinetic studies in ruminants and camelids. We are looking at emerging diseases and antimicrobial resistance and in hospital patients. Your dog that you allow to snuggle up every night and kiss and cuddle is carrying a lot of the bacteria and resistant bacteria that we think maybe twice about in the veterinary hospital, and it's treated with the same drugs you are going to go and I'm going to go to get rid of this respiratory cough. And we are looking at establishing these resistance programs worldwide to see what might be coming on the planes we get on every month, which when they cough, I cringe. Okay? So this is the last slide, so Jacob doesn't cringe anymore. How we can support the meat animal industry. I strongly believe, and I am passionate about being responsive to your needs, and that this has to be mutual. That it's important that you understand the animal side of things too, and that you give both sides a fair shake and listen to what the needs are on this end. Listen to how we need to grow and produce animals. In 2050, we need to double the meat supply. And we don't have any more land. We're going to have 10 billion people. That's a lot of cows we're going to be up against. Okay? And think of the number of chickens. And all those people are going to want Fidos and kitties. It's a lot. We need each other. We have to be an active partner, and we have to be valued. We have to be proactive and forward thinking. We can no longer think about dogma as dogma now. We need to be out of the box. Crazy ideas, but crazy ideas will get us to the next point. Okay, a double helix that goes backwards. We need a triple helix that goes sideways. It's got to be something new. And we have to be honest. If it doesn't work, we need to be able to look you in the eye and say, this is crap. I mean, that's the bottom line. Okay? We just need to be honest about it. And we have to offer you real and cost-effective solutions. Not, here's something really pretty in a package. It needs to be real, and it needs to be cost-effective. And this needs to be long-term. If it doesn't work once, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Help us go to college with you. It will be worth it in the long run. Thank you.